Welcome back. Today we have the first half of a Bedford Antiques trip. I've decided going in, I'm going to split it in half. Otherwise, you're going to be here for an hour. So we're going to make it reasonable and we're going to split them in half. So when we come back, we'll take a look at what Bedford had in store for us. Well, as I explained in the first segment of our filming at Bedford, I had this idea for this shopping trip that I would just not worry about buying anything. I would just go into Bedford, start picking out some interesting items, and just say, let's talk about this. And because they have items there of large case furniture pieces, just like sets, huge sets of dishes, things like that, I thought, well, maybe we should just take advantage of what they have to offer and go through and talk about this. How do you tell Victorian furniture, for example, from furniture made after the turn of the century? Well, the best laid plans of mice and men, as they say, and the best laid plans of moi sort of fall apart in the face of really good bargains. So let's take a look at the first item that I found. So I had this notion that I was going to come into Bedford today and not buy anything, just go around and show you what is here, and talk about identifying and evaluating, etc. But then I came over here to the first little shop I always hit and found this really pretty little German vase. Wait a minute, let me turn this around so you can see. $2. It's really nice looking. Condition is excellent. So much for I'm not going to buy anything. Now, this was a wonderful little German vase. I had seen it there before. Very simple. Very simple in terms of the color, obviously. The design was quite complex. Beautiful condition. And as you can see, a very good price. So within 3 minutes of walking into the store, my whole idea of, gee, I'm not going to buy anything, we're just going to go in and it'll be strictly educational, flew right out the window. And it only took a few more minutes for me to find some other goodies. So let's take a look at what came next. Well, look what we have here. A little Geisha ware cup and saucer. Now let me slide around. Nicely executed. And it's $2. I also found this little plate right behind it, which is unmarked. So I'm going to bring all 3 pieces up and see if I can get a price on this little one too. Well, that was a little Geisha ware cup with 2 small plates. Now, it said cup and saucer, but as you know, a saucer has that little round depression to hold the base of the cup so it doesn't jiggle around on the plate. These little Geisha ware plates did not have any depression in them. It was a set of 3. I wasn't quite sure when I first looked at it if both small plates went with the cup, but in fact they did. So all three of them were coming home with me. Given the fact that the smaller plates are not saucers, and in fact, I'll have to take a much closer look, they might not even be a perfect match for the cup. So, in all likelihood, at least two of those three pieces are going to just go into Tidbit trays. And because they were very nicely painted pieces, I can combine them with better quality, larger geisha ware plates. When you combine plates, this is just a bit about Tidbit trays in general. When you combine plates, you really want your plates to have a similar level of quality, style, etc. And you don't want to combine a poorly painted geisha ware plate with a beautifully executed one. And I have some lovely, better quality geisha ware plates. So getting a couple of small pieces to complement them is, yes, you can come up, is actually a very good break for me. Well, did you want me to pick you up, or are you going to do it yourself? No, not there. Yes, we were about to just dive bomb the camera again. All right. If you were with me yesterday, you know that Audie snoozed through the entire unboxing, which was extremely fortunate because I have a feeling that we probably couldn't have gotten away without a bit of breakage if he had decided to just hop into my lap, or worse, hop into the box. So we have to make up for it today. I don't know if you noticed. Yes. Okay, so those were the geisha ware pieces. And then I very quickly spotted a couple more pieces. And I pulled them out. I didn't film them in the booth. I brought them out to the cash register and filmed them there. So let's take a look at those. Well, as I was making my way through the booth, I found this very sweet little piece for $1 and this for $2. So much for I'm not going to buy anything. The larger of those two pieces, that sort of oblong, yes, all right, I'm petting you. That oblong dish was Bavarian, well, is Bavarian, marked, very pretty piece. It will probably be a lot prettier when it's cleaned up. And the smaller piece was not marked at all. Smaller piece was quite tiny, perhaps so big around. A lot of gilding, beautifully done, rather on the simple side in terms of the decoration of the piece, but the shape of the piece was anything but simple. That one was unmarked. I'm going to say I'm 50% convinced it was Japanese, and I base that on the design. The design was definitely one of the Asian-influenced designs. Certainly an older piece. But in any case, marked or not marked, once that one is cleaned up as well, that is really going to be a very beautiful little ring dish or something like that. I use small dishes to hold everything from stray screws to, my earrings. So I find them very useful. And a little dish like that, I could see that sitting on somebody's bathroom sink or, somebody's kitchen sink even, holding jewelry while they, wash their hands and, get all clean. So I thought those were really good pieces, especially at the prices. So next stop was one of Paul Snyder's booths, and he has them all over Bedford. So some downstairs, some upstairs. I don't think I have ever walked out of Bedford without at least one of his pieces. And of course, the most conspicuous piece I got from him was Ezra, my stove. that was one of Paul's pieces. It was up on the second floor. Stuff was piled up on it, but in spite of the stuff, you could still see how beautiful Ezra was underneath it. So yes, Paul was responsible for that one. Well, the first thing that I picked up from his booth downstairs was a really sweet little set of salt, pepper, and oil. So let's take a look. So as I was walking past one of Paul's little booths, I decided to come in, even though it very often means I will be putting down my bag, putting down my camera, and climbing on things. I saw this little set, salt, pepper, oil, $6, Japan. Here's our little paper sticker right by my little finger. And we talked about the stickers. The paper stickers were earlier than the gold foil stickers. And while I've got this piece, you may be tempted to say, oh no, Sue, that is damage. Put that down. But remember, we don't test with our eyes, we test with our fingers. That would seem to be staining on the surface of the piece. In any case, the glaze is not broken, because my thumb would tell me that. And I think this is a really good instance of let your fingers do the walking, because just judging by what my eyes were telling me, I would say, ooh, no, damage. And I would pass by a very pretty, very interesting set. I'm sorry, I said that was $6. It's $6.50. Very pretty, interesting little set. Very good deal. So, fingers, not eyes. Alright, so this was just a cute little set. We had the salt and pepper. One of them had the wine, and the other one had no idea what. Berries, grapes, who knows? Whatever it was, I'm sure it was painted by a person who never saw a grape before, if that's what it was supposed to be. And the oil cruet with the little lid. And the lid, I don't know if you could see, it had cork on it. Now, it was all taped up in the store, so I didn't have a chance to see if it was a full cork or merely a cork sleeve around a porcelain insert on the stopper. But when I clean it up, I will see. It's possible that there was also originally, he's just knocking things over there. I don't know what's up with him. It's also possible there was originally a vinegar cruet as well. I cannot say for sure, because the fact is that for the Japanese, oil and vinegar and salt and pepper, these are not things they ordinarily have on their dinner table, because it's just not how they eat. That's not what their cuisine is like. So, is it possible that it never had a vinegar cruet? Of course. Is it possible it did and that cruet got lost or is missing? Of course. Hard to tell. But I still think the three pieces are very nice. And of course, it was a good price. So, home with me. Okay, the next one, the one that's coming up now, is really a spectacular piece. So let's take a look. So let's take a look at this piece. This was hiding in the bottom of a cabinet. We are looking at $12. Bowl. White, green, and gold, Hong Kong is what it says. It says that, let me turn this around, because here is our marking, decorated in Hong Kong. Now, we've been through this before, so you and I both know what that means. That means that this is porcelain that was made in Japan, decorated in Hong Kong. So they left out the made in Japan part, decorated in Hong Kong. And this is where we have gotten some of our finest Chinese pieces. $12, this has got to be about what? I've got an 8-inch span here, so I'm thinking 10 inches. We're probably looking at about 4 to 5 inches high. And yes, I do measure with my fingers. Beautiful piece. $12, absolutely worth it. Someone is going to fall in love with this piece, and the fact that it's heavy and is going to require a lot of packing, and the shipping is not going to be cheap, believe me, that is not going to bother the person who wants this piece, because it is just, it's gorgeous. Well, my goodness, all I can say is whoever priced out that bowl really did not have a clear sense of what that decorated in Hong Kong mark meant. And as we know, when Chinese porcelain was no longer available to the West, essentially after the Second World War, the Chinese government, the Communist Party took over in China. They were no longer exporting to us. We were just, capitalist pig dogs, and we couldn't have their goodies. We still have the same demand for Chinese porcelain, so it moved to Japan. The porcelain was made in Japan. The decoration was done in Hong Kong, mostly by Chinese artisans, and these artisans were family groups. In other words, they would do this in their homes, and then it would be mom and dad and the kids, and everybody would be doing this, which is how they did it in China, and they brought that with us. Oh, and by the way, in the pre-industrial revolution days in America and Europe, that was what our manufacturing was like as well. Family industry, things done in the home. So the Chinese artisans that were doing this were Chinese artisans when they were in China. Many of them moved to Hong Kong. Many of them also moved to Taiwan when the communist regime took over. So they were doing the decorating. Those pieces, and we have discussed this before, yes, this is not genuine Chinese china, but it's not reproduction either. It's the Chinese porcelain that was made in Japan, decorated in Hong Kong, so it has its own particular provenance. Most people will tell you the Chinese porcelain, the stuff that was made in China, is preferred, but hey, we couldn't get it, we wanted it, and as I've told you, I have made in Japan, decorated in Hong Kong pieces in my own China service. I've got no problem with it. This piece is just beautiful. This is a large, magnificent bowl, beautiful condition. When it says decorated in Hong Kong, you just fill in that blank yourself, made in Japan. And the idea that that bowl would have sold for so little is just really remarkable. Well, I don't want you in the back. You can come around in the front. Well, where? All right, he's sleeping behind me now. That's what's going on. And I don't want him back there because every now and then he gets, all right. Wait, no, wrong way. It was over here. Can you see that peeking out? Yes, that is the cat. So, this is a beautiful bowl, large, heavy, gorgeous condition, beautifully executed. The price, staggering for something like that. Why? Because the owner of that booth did not know what you know, which is that the Japanese porcelain decorated in Hong Kong were the legitimate successors to the Chinese porcelain, and that is not just some piece of Hong Kong trash. So, pays to know what you're doing. Okay, next up, this is a Noritake cream and sugar, and let's take a look.
Well, what we have here is a very sweet little Japanese cream and sugar set. They're asking $12 for it. This set is Noritake. It's the azalea pattern, and that was actually a relatively popular China pattern. Just barely above what I would consider acceptable in terms of price. So I think I'm going to have to think about it. It's a nice set, good condition, but I have to think.
Well, that is the azalea pattern. I look at those flowers, they really don't look like azalea blossoms to me, what can I say? But it was one of Noritake's most popular patterns. They did dinner sets, okay? You can go right here. They did dinner sets, and so it would have been like any other China set, you know, full service in a certain pattern. And that was one of their most popular patterns. Nice little set, just a little too pricey for me. So, same booth. Let's take a look at this.
Well, someone recently approached me through my Etsy shop and said she was looking for Victorian tumblers, a tumbler actually, for her bathroom. And I asked her if she could be a little more specific about color or style. And she had said burgundy, voila, or green again. Now, this one has a nice gold cast to it, as well as the gilding in here, in these depressions. This one also with the gilding. So, I don't know. I'm going to keep these in mind. 7, the one with the burgundy. 7, the one with the gold petals. 8, the one with the gold in the insets in the glass. And this one, the green, is 15. I do understand that. That's a nicer piece, so it's not surprising it would be twice what the others are. But I'm going to wander around, and I may end up coming back here and picking up one of these glasses. We'll have to see.
So one of my Etsy buyers had said she was looking for a Victorian glass for her bathroom. And those glasses that I showed you were all pressed glass, so they are just heavy, heavy pieces. Certainly much better suited to a bathroom than fine crystal, but not knowing what her particular taste is. So on the video, she can choose. She knows the prices, and I can get that for her. And I'm thinking with fees and shipping, I can probably bring it in well under $20 regardless. That's a little high for a bathroom glass, but again, of course, it might not even go as high as $20. You know, it could end up less. So, and I guess that all depends on which glass she likes best. So, that's one of those things that once she decides, I'll go back, I will grab her glass, and I'm sure it's still going to be there because pieces like that, especially hidden in the back of a little booth, usually don't move very quickly. They are ordinarily there, from one visit to the next. So let's hope she sees something she likes and she can let me know and I can get it for her. Also, same booth, there was an Austrian cream and sugar set. So let's take a look at this.
Same booth. This is where I saw the glasses. This is where I got the large Chinese bowl. An Austrian creamer and sugar set. Wonderful fall colors. And remember, look at that inside. We've discussed this before, that European sugar bowls, in general, do not have lids. We sort of inherited the lid concept from the British, who live on an island, which means high levels of moisture and sugar turning into lumps if you don't have it properly protected from the elements. But in continental Europe, this is the norm: the open creamer, the open sugar. Very pretty pieces. I think we are looking at... Oh, come back here. You're scaring away from me. Yes, $15 for the set. Oh, and this has the beautiful little flourish on the inside. What can I say? $15 just seems a little high to me, although to be perfectly honest, if I were looking at this retail, in other words, if that was supposed to come home with me and live in my house, I would have to say 15 is a fabulous bargain. And while we are still in this booth, framed fan, $125. The fan is not worth that kind of money. I would be willing to throw a little into it for the fact that it's framed, but we are not looking at a valuable fan. Just so you know, if you see fans like this, if you want to get them, you had better make sure they are at least 200 years old, or you just can't justify that $125 price.
Well, we've discussed this before. The European convention, if you will, for sugar bowls is just an open bowl. It's a bowl. I'm quite certain that's why we still call it a sugar bowl to these days, because we wouldn't ordinarily characterize the little pot with a lid that we keep sugar in as a bowl. So I suspect that's just a legacy from the days when it was a bowl, no lid. And as I mentioned when I was doing the filming, we got the whole lid concept from the UK, where sometimes they had lids, sometimes they didn't, but it was just a function of being on an island with higher levels of humidity, and if you know what it's like to leave your sugar out in the humidity, pretty soon it becomes like little rock crystal. So a lid is useful. That was a lovely set. I did not consider the price too bad, but because we are used to lidded sugar bowls, I really need to find something special or very inexpensive when I start getting into something like that. Mostly because it's not what we're used to, and not what we're used to doesn't always sell well. So, we'll see. If pieces like that stay around, if they offer sales or mark them down, sure, they will come home with me, even on days when I swear I'm not going to buy anything. Next up, I went back to the little Chinese corner booth that I always go to, and I always complain about their prices, but I got something really pretty to show you, so take a look.
We are back in that little Chinese booth that I like so much, and it looks like we've got some new pieces here. A pair of vases, and the price on this is $250. Okay, so they are a pair, right? and they appear to be a little taller than mine, probably about 2 inches taller than my pieces. But if you will recall, Jocelyn got one of them for $20, and I got another recently for 10, and there's a third vase in that collection that I got in between for about 15. So, $250, I would say you can do better. I am going to see if I can take a look. I don't know if the cabinet is open in the back, but of course, with pieces like this, the marks are vital. Oh, and, you know, if you pay $250 for something, it really behooves you to figure out what it is before you drop that kind of money.
Well, $125 for that pair of vases. Oh, not happening. No, 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 no. Because you watched me get a vase in the same style for $10 a few weeks ago. Jocelyn gave me one for Christmas, I think, one year. She paid $20 for it. A lovely piece. I grabbed one myself for about $15 in between those two purchases. So I have 3 vases of that style. They're a little smaller, but only by maybe 2 inches. That all 3 of them probably didn't even add up to half the price they were looking for theirs. And I have no idea what the marking is because it was in the case, so I couldn't pick it up and turn it over, and I cannot be sure of the condition. So, just goes to show you that careful shopping can get you what you want at very good prices. Things that are ordinarily going pretty high, shop around. You can find the deals. But I did want you to see those vases. So, the last item we are taking a look at is actually 3 items. So, let's go.
We are here in my favorite little delightfully clean and well-organized booth. Let's take a peek up here. 20% off, over $10, can be combined. And I found some interesting little things. So let's start with this. This is a box of lagniappe Christmas matches. Lagniappe is a French word and it just means giveaways, like those calendars that the banks used to give you but don't give you anymore. And I checked this out carefully. The match books are all full, unmarked, and they have this delightful vintage look to them. $3.50. Yes, they are coming with me. And I have no idea what the new owner will be inclined to do with them. Personally, this is the sort of thing that I would just leave out as part of a Christmas display, especially if I tended to do vintage Christmas scenes. Very pretty. I think it's worth the $3.50, of course, minus 20%, because here we have a lovely little $4 piece. It's a fruit bowl. It is Occupied Japan. Very pretty, and again, we've been talking about how popular these little figurines used to be back in their heyday. And let's see, $5, I believe, for this little set of apple salt and pepper shakers. They are not marked. I don't know. I would say there's a very good chance they are Japan. There's an equally good chance they are US made. So, nevertheless, apple salt and pepper shakers, I don't think I'm going to have any trouble unloading them. And remember, with 20% off, they're actually $4 and not $5. So, They are all going into my bag. Oh, and before I do that, let me take my bag off my shoulder. This is my real, here, you can't even see it. Okay, this is my real nifty vintage bag. It's the one that I take to Bedford. I don't use it for other purposes. This is sort of my Bedford bag. It's wonderful. Here, let me just... This is my real nifty vintage bag. It is huge. It's hard to tell because it's sort of, folding up on itself right now. I got this from Jeffrey's shop, Real Nifty Vintage, on Etsy. I would wholeheartedly recommend it because this is holding up so well. I'm sure that the next person who gets their hands on this bag is going to be whoever it is that I leave it to in my will. This is just a workhorse, and this so reminds me of The Prisoner. So, okay, old timers, how about you? Reminds you of The Prisoner?
So, as I mentioned, this was my favorite little booth, that squeaky clean one where you can find anything you want, where I can grab something from one shelf, find plenty of shelf room on another shelf to lay it out, film it for you. So the first thing I saw were the apple salt and pepper shakers. Not marked, but I'm pretty sure they're Japanese. Nice pieces, $5, and remember that was 20% off. So $5 for those, which is actually $4. And that one was sort of a no-brainer. The next piece I saw was that very pretty little Occupied Japan figurine. All it is a figurine, just a little a fruit basket kind of fruit. It was described as a fruit basket. It looked like a fruit plate to me. That can either be sold for what it is, which is an Occupied Japan figurine, or I can pop some, what in the world? I can pop some lamp fittings in there, as I do when I convert something into a Tidbit tray, and use that as a Tidbit tray topper. I'm sure it would look lovely as a Tidbit tray topper, so maybe I will consider that. Who knows? The price was certainly right. And I know a lot of you are already thinking, Sue, why did you get matches? Are you trying to encourage people to run off smoking? No, of course not. But they had just such a wonderful vintage look. The set was perfect. Not a single match missing from a single one of the books, not a mark on them. And I thought that was one of those little lanyards that somebody would really enjoy having. Either because they want to split it up and give the matchbooks to their friends, or because they just like to display it in their own homes at the holidays. People display the most unusual things you could possibly imagine when the holidays come running around, and the idea of having some super fancy little matchbooks kicking around to light the holiday candles is certainly something that will appeal to someone. But I have also found that things like cigarette lighters, ashtrays, matches, just to think of one thing, when smoking was, you would walk into somebody's house, they would have a box full of cigarettes on the table. You would take a cigarette like you would take an after-dinner mint. That really was the way it happened. You go in and there was an ashtray with a matching table lighter. They were called table lighters. The lighter sat on the table. A cigarette lighter, a box of cigarettes was not considered something personal. It was just, like I said, like the after-dinner mint, something you offered your guests. Have a drink, have a cigarette, and keep in mind back in the 50s, we were plying our guests with alcohol, too. I have a good plan. Let's get people drunk as skunks and encourage them to light fires. Whoa! What were we thinking and how did we survive? But items like that, because they are so fixed in time, so dated, have their own appeal. So that's why. And you've seen me grab odd little things like that before. I, in fact, grabbed another odd little sort of blast from the past that you will see in the next video. But that finishes us up for today. Next half of the video will be coming up. So, in the meantime, quick peek for you. This is from Steffi's Beads and Baubles, and this was that wonderful steampunk piece. And I don't remember if she said it was her early foray into steampunk jewelry or her very first. But I grabbed this one right away. Of course, along with the llama, because you can never have too many llamas. And this one is in my collection of steampunk jewelry. When she had offered it, it was on a much longer chain, so I changed out the chains so that you can see this. Is it going to be a permanent change? Who knows? One of these days I might want to put on a flapper dress and have that nice long chain and have my little steampunk piece hanging down around my knees somewhere. Who knows? Anyway, beautiful piece. And speaking of Steffi's Beads and Baubles, do not forget Amazing Amy's Accoutrements. This is your last day to go to her shops, take a look at her stuff, enter her giveaway. Please do so. The jewelry is just breathtaking. And of course, these wonderful little carved wood items, just fantastic. So absolutely get in there. And remember, I am leaving the contact information in a pinned comment. That'll be the first comment you see right under this video. All right, so that's what we've got going on. That's where we were today. Tomorrow is going to be a brand new giveaway, so be sure to check that out. And we will follow up with the rest of our Bedford shopping trip. Okay, have a fantastic day, everyone. And here is our little minute of quiet and serenity so that we can all just, take a breath and let it all go. The garbage, the stress, I'm sick of home confinement, I'm going to choke to death if I have to wear another mask. Just let it all go. Just look at these pretty sunsets. I will see you all tomorrow.